But you see it as a possibility if he wants to spend $1 billion beating this guy, he could do it.
Absolutely. Somebody tweeted recently that actually with the money he spent, he could have given every American $1 million.
I've got it. Let's put it up on the screen. When I read it tonight on social media, it kind of all became clear. Bloomberg spent $500 million on ads. U.S. population, 327 million. Don't tell us if you're ahead of us on the math. He could have given each American $1 million and have had lunch money left over. It's an incredible way of putting it.
It's an incredible way of putting it. It's true. It's disturbing. It does suggest, what we're talking about here, which is there's too much money in politics.
What's disturbing is that there's too much stupidity in reporting about politics. Let's look at that tweet again. It says right there that there are 327 million Americans. Right next to that, it says that Bloomberg spent $500 million. So these two thought, $500 million is more than 327 million, so this tweet must be right. And that was all the thought they put into it. Brian Williams has been a millionaire for decades. He must have at some point come to understand that $1 million is 1,000 times $1,000, and that $1 billion is 1,000 times $1 million. That means that in order for Bloomberg to give $1 million to 327 million people, he'd have to hand out 327 million times $1 million. How does that add up to 500 million? It actually adds up to 327 trillion. Look, suppose that these two are just monumentally bad at math. There is something much scarier going on here, and that's this. Bloomberg had been in the race for a couple of months. During that period of time, he had been in the news every day around the clock, with a whole nation's worth of reporters discussing his enormous spending. Hell, I myself referred to the number of delegates he'd won, which was 31, and I gave the math on that. Roughly 16 million per delegate, or whatever that was. The point is that people had been doing Bloomberg math for weeks. And here Williams thinks he's getting a scoop from a tweet that not one of the country's political journalists had come up with? That's what Brian Williams thinks about the quality of American political reporting? Makita Rivas is a fashion writer at an online women's magazine, and Brian Williams thought that she had figured out something that every journalist on TV had missed. Mara Gay, the woman who brought it up, is on the New York Times editorial board, and she not only believed this brain-dead tweet, but also thought that every political print reporter had also missed the scoop. The Bloomberg campaign was already over. If it were true that his cash outlay could have bought every American into the top 1% twice over, even children, how could this possibly never have been discussed before? This goes to the very basic journalistic instincts of not only Mara Gay and Brian Williams, but of all the producers and tech people at MSNBC who had to look at that tweet, approve the story, make it into a graphic, and put it on the air. And nobody caught it? How on earth are these people working at all, let alone working at a so-called news station? The sub-grade school math isn't what bothers me here. It's the incredible lack of perspective these people have, how deaf they all are to the ring of truth. Williams was the anchor at NBC News in 2008. The biggest story of that year was Barack Obama's campaign. Everybody was talking about how it was the first campaign in history to top $1 billion in spending. Remember that? That was a big story, and Williams was the #1 anchor in the news business. Does Williams think that in 2008, Obama's campaign would have been able to give every American $2 million and that nobody broke that story? Literally every day I see some meme on my social media that makes an outrageous claim. In a fraction of a second, my bullshit detector kicks in. I look at the story and say to myself, if this was true, it would be the biggest story of the year, and because I haven't already heard it, it has to be false. Either Williams has no BS detector or he doesn't read the news and therefore assumed that this million per American idea was common knowledge. I think the latter must be true because of the way he phrases it. He'd seen it on Twitter himself and just didn't question it. And yet, the favored news channel of progressives has chosen this guy, already a confirmed liar, to lead their news team? And Democrats wonder why the president doesn't trust the media. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications.